because they wanted to vote. And that reminds us that the bedrock of American democracy is the right to vote. And what an outrage it is today. And I'm not talking about 60 years ago. I'm talking about today that you have Republican governors all over this country trying to suppress the vote. I've said it once, I've said it a million times. I speak to somebody who's run for office many times in Vermont. Sometimes I've lost and most times I've won, but it never occurred to me to figure out how I can keep people from voting because they might be voting against me. But I've always believed that my ideas are not good enough to win. That's the way it is. I will make my best case. But that we have cowardly governors from one end of this country to the other, who are afraid of participating in free, fair, and open elections. And I say to them, if you don't have the courage of your convictions, if the only way you think you can win an election is by denying people the right to vote, get out of politics and get another job. Today, we saw firsthand what it meant, the kind of struggles, the deaths, the beatings, the intimidation that people had to go through in order to secure a basic American right, which is the right to vote. And today we have the opportunity, and I wanted to thank Walter Farrell for his presentation and for his service to our country. Walter, thank you so much. And I wanted to thank Beth Cox and Pamela Suresh, not only for being here, Pamela, but thank you for allowing us to come to your home. And I'm not the most emotional guy in the world. But this is tough stuff. It is tough stuff to see children. Pamela has a daughter who's 10 years of age, who has trouble breathing in the night. She has to wear a special thing in order to breathe in the night, probably because of the mold that she has in her trailer. And we see in this country millions and millions of people who cannot go to a doctor when they get sick. This is, and what we are about in this campaign and tonight is about why we almost always bring people up to talk their truth. Because you don't see and hear that truth in Congress, and you don't see or hear it on television. And the truth is that there are millions and millions of people in this country, almost 40 million people who are living in poverty. These are people who are struggling every single day to put food on the table for their kids, to pay the light bill, to put gas in the car in order to get to work. In the wealthiest country in the history of the world, we need an economy that works for all of our people, not just the 1%. Now here in Alabama, I gather you still have a minimum wage, what is it, $7.25 an hour? Does anybody on God's earth think that anybody can survive on $7.25 or $8 or $9 an hour? And the result of that is that we have, not only in Alabama, but all across this country, people working 2 or 3 jobs, people working 50, 60 hours a week, people who are working full-time, who are forced to go to emergency food shelves in order to get the food they need to feed their kids. It is not too much to ask in the wealthiest country in the history of the world that if you work 40 hours a week, you do not have to live in poverty. Whether the governor of Alabama and the governors of other states like it or not, we are going to raise that minimum wage federally to $15 an hour. And furthermore, women in America should not be making 80 cents on the dollar compared to men. And minority women should not be making even less. Equal pay for equal work. And whether the government of Alabama and other states like it or not, we're going to do away with so-called right-to-work legislation. And we're going to make it easier, not harder, for people to join unions. Brothers and sisters, I live in Burlington, Vermont, and you should visit us in the summer. We'll come down here in the winter, how's that? We'll do a Montgomery Burlington exchange program. But 50 miles north of where I live is the province of Quebec, Canada. In Canada, and it turns out in every major country on earth, a lot of Americans don't know this. Canada, every other major country on earth, health care is seen as a human right, not a privilege. That means in Canada, in the United Kingdom, in Germany, in Sweden, in Norway, in Finland, in virtually every major country on earth, you go to the doctor when you need to go, regardless of your income. And you don't have to worry about going bankrupt if somebody in your household ends up in the hospital. People, I visited Toronto, Canada, a year and a half ago, went into the hospital, and I talked to patients who had extensive surgery, serious heart surgery, cancer surgery. You know how much it cost them when they got out of the hospital? Anyone here know? Zero. No out-of-pocket expenses. That is a humane society. Now, 4 years ago, when I came to Montgomery and Birmingham, and I talked about health care for all, that was seen as a radical idea, something the American people wouldn't support. Well, last poll that I saw just a few days ago says that 70% of the American people now support a Medicare for all independent coverage. Now, mark my words. I'm in a church, so mark them. Tell the truth. In a few weeks or months, you'll be seeing 30-second ads on television telling you how terrible Bernie Sanders is and how he wants to take away your health care and all that stuff. Know who is paying for those ads. Those ads are being... I love you too. Those ads are being paid for by the insurance companies. The insurance companies, where you have a situation where over the last 5 years they made $20 billion in profit, where the guy who was head of Aetna managed to engineer a merger with CVS. You know what he got for that merger? $500 million. So we don't have enough doctors, we don't have enough hospitals, hospitals are closing down, people can't go to the doctor, but somehow or another we have in our healthcare system $500 million for one guy to engineer one deal which will raise healthcare costs. That is called a dysfunctional healthcare system. The guy who's head of United Health, major health insurance company, he doesn't like Medicare for all either. You know why? He made $83 million in compensation last year. Many of you cannot afford the prescription drugs your doctors prescribe. Elderly people in Vermont and around the country cut their pills in half because the price of medicine in America is twice as high as it is in any other country on earth. Major pharmaceutical companies, top 10 last year, made $69 billion in profit, and 1 out of 5 Americans cannot afford the medicine their doctors prescribe. That's called corporate greed. Think for a moment how crazy it is. Somebody is sick, they go to the doctor writes out the prescription, and they can't afford to fill it. What happens to that person? They get sicker, then they end up in the emergency room, which is very expensive health care. Maybe they end up in the hospital, maybe they die. So let me tell you something that you don't see on TV very often. You don't hear in Congress. Some 30,000 Americans died last year because they did not go to the doctor when they should. So together we understand that just as civil rights is a human right, healthcare is a human right. And we will pass, whether the drug companies like it or not, whether the insurance companies like it or not, we are going to pass a Medicare for all single payer program. And we're going to go further than that. We're going to rebuild our crumbling primary health care system. Representative Jim Clyburn of South Carolina and I have worked together to expand community health centers. I want everybody in this country to have access to a doctor in the communities that they live. And we are going to deal not only with universal health care, but with disparities racial disparities in the healthcare system. We need more black doctors, more black nurses, more black social workers, more black psychiatrists. That is why we're going to greatly expand the National Health Service Corps, which says that anybody who graduates medical school will get all of their debt forgiven if they serve in an underserved area in America. world in having the best educated population on earth. We were number one. Today, we are no longer number one. We are behind many other countries: South Korea, Japan, Canada, Ireland, United Kingdom, Australia, among others. We're about 11th place and sinking. And the reason for that is that many of our young people cannot afford to go to college, cannot afford to get a higher education. And then what we also know is that large numbers of people drop out of school because they are incurring student debt that they simply will never be able to pay off. I believe that in the year 2019, the time is long overdue to make it clear that any young person in this country who has the ability, who has the desire to get a higher education, whether it's college or a trade school, that young person has the right to do that, which is why we will make public colleges and universities tuition free.